Good morning, Bookers, and welcome back to another thrilling episode of Buck's Books. As you may have guessed, it is I, your host, Buck. And today, I would like to talk to you about a cute little book I just finished called The Healthy Deviant, a rule breaker's guide to being healthy in an unhealthy world by, bear with me on this one, Pilar, Gerasimo. I don't know. I think it's Greek. I don't know where the accents are supposed to be. Stumbled on this book because it's definitely Unga Bunga. Straight up, like it's going on that shelf where I put all my other cave folk books. And in the Readers Also Enjoyed section on Goodreads, it's next to Breathe by James Nestor and The Joy of Movement by Kelly McGonigal, which was phenomenal. But it's also... One second. And sweet Katy Bowman. Several of Katy Bowman's books. Oh, I am in love with Katy Bowman. I know she's wed and has children, but still I pine. And also Outlive by Peter Attia. And Peter Attia, he's a scumbag, and his book was awful. And he showed up in those Epstein emails. So I didn't know that when I reviewed that book with 1 star and called him fraud and a snake oil salesman and a self-aggrandizing narcissist who essentially wrote a big commercial for his diet pills. You know, that was pure intuition. The third eye, Buck's third eye is open. So, The Healthy Deviant is a book about how we live in the civilization that Freud described in Civilization and His Discontents and was discontented with. And talks about how to sort of buck these established expectations in order to distance yourself from the unhealthy default reality, I think Pilar keeps calling it in the book, right? So it starts, as many ancestral health books do, with a crippling disease known as chronic bones. Chronic bones is not a real disease so much as a sequence of mysteries that come together in your body when you're sad and don't take care of yourself. So if you have any dealings with people with depression, you have encountered chronic bones, because odds are their bones are deeply chronic. If you have run across people with personality disorders, the ones that weaponize weakness, so covert narcissists or borderlines, you have encountered chronic bones. Sometimes there are elements of truth to these diseases. For example, one type of chronic bones would be if you took a little tumby and busted up your knee, and then from that point forward you had knee issues. The knee issues are probably not as severe as one with chronic bones would indicate, and certainly would not require you to collect disability for the rest of your life in most cases. However, if you do have chronic bones, that is likely your end game. So, chronic bones is it's an umbrella term for many mystery diseases that are kind of real, in that we can't disprove them, but we also can't prove them. So if you have something that doesn't show up on a scan, if you go to a doctor and the doctor keeps saying things like you should try losing weight because he's a fascist, a patriarchal fascist, odds are what you're dealing with is a case of chronic bones. Now, there are some problematic scientists who would attempt to connect these mysterious, often autoimmune disorders to systemic inflammation, which shows up in virtually every case of depression. It's like the only symptom, it's a physiological symptom that we have that we can identify with depression. But odds are it's just a coincidence that happens every time. So what Pilar, like most of these fringe health books, suggests you do about it is totally revamp the way that you eat. But Pilar goes a little further, because she doesn't just want you to make a dietary change, because it's not a diet book. All that she says is eat whole foods. She says stop eating crap and stop eating things that you're probably allergic to. Well, odds are you shouldn't be having that much gluten. Well, some people are fine with gluten, but at the end of the day, it is grass, and we are not built to digest grass. A little grass probably won't kill you. My dogs love it, but they started as carnivores. They're omnivores now because of what we did to them. But by and large, what they primarily want is meat. And still, they're just out there housing grass. And we can do that too, a little. But man cannot live by grass alone. Your guts will fall out. Your bones will get really weak. You'll get anemic. You'll look vegan. Pilar says you should just eat whole foods. You should lean into getting enough protein if at all possible. This is all very rudimentary, sound advice. Yes, of course you should do that. But then she also says you should rage against the machine and reject reality as it is and substitute your own, because the reality that we have is cringe. She makes a pretty persuasive point. There's pretty cringe out there. She talks about how all of the entertainment that we consume is mindless and doesn't edify you in any significant way, barring, of course, Buck's Books book reviews, which enrich your mind and strengthen your spirit, your wind horse, your Mongolian wind horse. I'll talk about the wind horse in a future book, which is just another case in point. You probably don't know what the hell the wind horse is, and you wouldn't have learned if not for being enriched by Buck's Books. This is not simple entertainment. This is not unhealthy default reality entertainment. This is investment in yourself. You're welcome. But she also talks about how they bombard us with these fad diets, and the fad diets don't really work. She never comes out and actively states that she's anti-vax, but there's a strong suggestion of it running through the book, because she is deeply distrustful of the healthcare business. A business it is, and a poorly run one, because these personal trainers don't really know what they're doing in most cases. They're just giving you random things to do, and it's more movement than you did before. Doctors get half a semester of nutrition, if you're lucky. It's not what they are aware of. Dietitians and nutritionists are often working with data that was fraudulent 80 years ago when it was published. So, a lot of this is just winging it. And the reason it's just winging it is not even the deliberate sabotage, but the unscientific components of what we're trying to do here. Because due to ethical constraints, you can't imprison a test participant and feed them a very specific diet through a slot in the door until their health improves or they die. For some reason, we did away with that. And as a result, that means we can't do double blinds in a lab with anything pertaining to nutrition or exercise, which means we will never have any actual scientific knowledge of nutrition or exercise. It's all just conjecture and correlation. And if you've been paying attention, correlation does not imply causation. So we can't draw any conclusions from anything, which is why your mileage may vary so much. In the Healthy Deviant, she sets some sound ground rules for how to get healthier. And all you have to do to get healthier is not do what's making everybody else so unhealthy. And yeah, that tracks. She wants you to walk outside. She wants you to spend less time on screens. She wants you to get enough sleep. She wants you to drink water. She wants you to eat real food. It's the stuff that grandma said, the stuff your mom told you when you were a kid. And you said, no, I'll do what I want. You went and you played Game Boy in the dark before there were backlit screens, and now you have to wear glasses, even though your vision hasn't gotten any worse in 20 years. But you don't want to shell out $5,000 for the LASIK. Are you kidding me? $5,000? Do you know how many chicken nuggets that is? You don't eat chicken nuggets anymore because that's part of the unhealthy default reality. But if you did, you know what? I haven't been keeping up with inflation with regard to fast food, but I think you can still get 5 chicken nuggets for $1. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. That would mean $5,000. That's like 25,000 chicken nuggets. I'm not gonna spend that on LASIK. Plus, it's gonna get worse again. They're gonna go bad again eventually. I don't know that for sure because I've also spoken to people who got LASIK, and then their eyes just stayed good for 20, 30 years. They got it when LASIK first came out. Here's the thing. The thing is, they probably don't read as much as I do. And I feel like that's going to be a contributing factor to the worsening of the eyes, even though I don't try to do it in the dark in the backseat of cars by whatever street light I can catch anymore. Now I have backlit screens. But how good are those for us? According to Pilar, probably not very. Probably ultimately pretty bad for us. So the book itself was cute. It was alright. The information was sound, though it wasn't super scientific. She wasn't citing studies or anything. She was just saying things that are true. And I know that they're true because I've seen studies in other places that proved them for all intents and purposes. But again, these studies do have their limitations because nutrition and exercise, and we don't know nothing about nothing because we can't actually test it. What is a boy to do? So the book has too many cute illustrations in it to keep you engaged. I'm not a child or an idiot. I'm trying to become more of an idiot. This is something that I've been giving serious thought to because, well, not serious, just pitiful, lacking thought to. I'm trying to really downregulate. I'm trying to quash. I'm trying not to have as many thoughts. I'm trying to have fewer thoughts, not in a meditative way, just in a stupid guy way. Because I tried smart, and what did it ever do for me, really? I'm talking here. I'm on YouTube, yapping about books. So I'm trying to do the other way. I'm trying to just drool, and it's difficult. So if you guys have any suggestions, any surefire ways to just become a dumbass, throw it in the comments because I'm really trying to maximize that aspect of my life. But see, part of the problem is her book was full of cute stick figure illustrations that are supposed to keep you engaged if you have a bad attention span. And historically, I have had a pretty bad attention span. But the cute stick figures they just felt pandering. They felt condescending. And I know that was not Pilar's intention. She doesn't strike me as the type. She just wanted to make the book more fun. She wanted it to be fun and zany, and I'm not that guy. That guy's not me. So the fun zany guy, I'm kind of fun and zany, but not stick figure fun and zany. It was just every time I was like, ugh. It's cool that this is making the book go faster. They dedicated a page to the stupid stick figure analogy, but it's just not necessary because you can extract the analogy from the text fairly easily. These are not difficult concepts, Professor. You don't need to diagram them on the board. But I'm almost out of time. So all in all, good book. I'll give it a 3 out of 5 because there are much better books and that are much more readable and much less gimmicky and branded. However, Pilar is fighting the good fight, and also she's pretty. So I'm more inclined to believe what she says about health and fitness. You ever notice that? It's sort of like how you're not going to go with a fat personal trainer sort of thing, or a skinny chef. It makes you think. Like, follow, subscribe, etc. I'll be back soon. Okay, love you. Bye.